Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Casey and you're watching the Nindie Report for December 2017. Happy New Year to you and yours. I hope you guys all had a fantastic holiday season. I hope you got to see some friends, some family, eat some really great food, but most importantly, I hope you guys got to play plenty of great Nintendo games. And if you didn't, and you're looking for a couple of great games, well, you're in luck. The eShop is popping off right now. November was crazy. December equally as crazy. Whether you're a fan of tactical RPGs, action games, shoot 'em ups, whatever you could imagine, there's something to scratch that itch over on the Nintendo eShop. Now, last month we took a look at 3 games that we thought you needed to know about. Well, we've got 3 more lined up for you today. It was not easy to pick because there are just a slew of really great games that came out this month, but there were only 3 that rose to the top, and those are the games we're going to be highlighting today. So without further ado, let's get into the 3 games that you need to know about. Our first title probably looks familiar to many of you, at least in look and feel. That's because we're taking a look at another Link to the Past inspired game, this time Blossom Tales: The Sleeping King. Now I know we're aiming to have a nice spread of genres on this show, to give you all a taste of the different stuff out there. And, of course, last month we touched on It'll Do Too, but it was impossible not to mention this little gem of a game that is a true love letter to classic Zelda, with an absolutely amazing art style and the gameplay to match. This game starts out with Grandpa telling his grandchildren a story of a legendary hero decked in green, but of course, they've already heard that one a million times. So instead, we hear the tale of Lily. She must awaken the king, whom was put to sleep by an evil wizard, and in order to do so, she must travel the world, finding the 3 key ingredients for the potion, which will finally knock him out of his slumber. What's wonderful about Blossom Tales is, well, there's a lot. The controls are smooth and the swordplay feels great, but that's not the only tool in your arsenal. The standard Zelda fare are all present, with bombs, bows, and the like sprouting up to help you overcome puzzles and obstacles along the way. However, instead of relying on finding bombs and arrows, there's an energy bar that drains over time when you use an item, but also refills itself constantly. This means the days of backtracking and pot breaking to find an arrow are over, and I, for one, couldn't be happier. While there aren't a ton of dungeons, the few that are present are well designed and quite beefy, taking a good chunk of time to traverse completely. Now, it's been a hot minute since we last saw a true 2D Zelda game from Nintendo, but it's nice to know Nindies are taking the torch and providing us with stellar Zelda-like experiences, and that's exactly what developer Castle Pixel has done with Blossom Tales. Let's pivot in the complete opposite direction and talk about a funky, fresh new rhythm game, Floor Kids. Some of you might recognize this from the Nindie showcase that Nintendo presented over the summer, a strange hand-drawn game with fantastic animations of kids breakdancing. Most rhythm games ask you to perfectly mimic a series of button presses by having you learn the rule set and adhere to it, rarely allowing for any personal expression. However, that's not the case with Floor Kids. Instead, you have to lay down your best moves to the beat while making it both original and stylish. Of course, this is done by successfully executing different button combinations, but since there is no right or wrong style of dance for each song, this allows a lot of creative freedom. But with great freedom comes great responsibility. Well, maybe I should say, with great freedom comes... I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but what I mean to say is the game definitely has a bit of a learning curve. There are tutorials, but learning the intricacies that are more or less mandatory for success comes by continued play, especially when trying to master the different combinations each kid possesses. Now, I'm not saying this to discourage you guys from picking up Floor Kids, but more to highlight its depth. This is great for those willing to dive deep into the meat of the games, but could also be a bit intimidating for players looking for a more casual experience. With Floor Kids, we have one of the most unique and freshest takes on a rhythm game in recent history. Creativity and flow comes in spades if you're willing to learn how the game works. Although only clocking in at about 5 hours or so, it's hard not to fall in love with this quirky game. bullets, barrels, cylinders, ejection rods. If these sorts of things happen to tickle your fancy, then Enter the Gungeon is probably right up your alley. This twin-stick, bullet hell roguelike definitely has one thing on its mind, and one thing only: guns. That's right, guns. From the anthropomorphic bullets that waddle throughout the dungeons, Gungeons, to the dozens of drastically different firearms hidden away to be discovered, Enter the Gungeon puts a whole new meaning on shooting bullets. Fans of roguelikes such as Neon Chrome or Goner will be familiar with the game's setup. Explore a Gungeon, defeat the boss, and move on. Replayability is key here. For every time the player has a go at it, they will learn new skills, how to master the unique dodge roll mechanic, and even eventually discover new characters that can aid you with weapons when restarting. As you can see, Enter the Gungeon is loaded with character, but don't let this quirky art design fool you. The game is super challenging, but if you're a fan of roguelikes, you can't go wrong with Enter the Gungeon. Alrighty, that's gonna bring us to a close here today. 3 really great Nindies that you guys need to know about, but they are not the only Nindies. Of course, there are a huge amount of games over on the eShop. Pretty much any genre you can think of, there's something for you over there, so make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out NintendoWorldReport.com for the written word. We do previews, reviews, all of that stuff for Nindies, but also pretty much anything Nintendo that you could ever imagine. We cover it over there on the website. Of course, here on YouTube, Nintendo World Report TV, we've got plenty of video reviews, gameplay, all sorts of coverage. Of course, series like this, we'll be doing this every month where we take a look at the 3 Nindies you need to know about for the previous month. And of course, make sure to like, subscribe, and all that jazz. You guys know the deal by now. And until next month, keep playing those Nindies.